you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, I think you're up, and then we'll take a little debrief and a break.
So I would like for y'all to join me in a previous time. Now, I know that sounds dramatic. We're only going back to February. I'm standing in my apartment. I'm looking down at my desk, and there's a letter. I'm staring at it. I'm staring at it. I'm staring at it. I grab it, and I walk towards the door. And I come back, and I go back to the door. And I come back again. And for the next 20 minutes, I am pacing, I am pacing, I am pacing, and I can feel frustration. I feel like I'm going insane. Just do it, Matt. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Oh my God, just do it. So I go outside. I go to the mailbox that is in front of my apartment building. And I look at the outgoing mail slot and I stare at it and I stare at it and I stare at it. I am now physically no longer pacing, but my mind is pacing at a rate that seems like it's going to break. Just do it. No, don't do it. No, don't do it. You want to do it. No, you don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Yes, you do. Oh my God, why is this gratitude such bullshit? I muster some strength and I get the letter halfway into the outgoing slot. I am frozen. I can't move. I cannot complete the mailing of this letter. I look up at the sky, hoping some phantom lightning bolt will strike me down and end this madness. Alas, it is blue skies, warm sunshine. There's no lightning bolt saving me today, so I frustratedly throw the letter into the box and I storm back into my apartment. I want to be mad. I want to be frustrated, but the fact of the matter is I am not. I can feel the insanity melting away. Oh, this gratitude is hard, but this gratitude is worth it. This is a story about a 23-day gratitude project. This is a story about why gratitude is hard, but more importantly, this is a story about why gratitude is worth it. So before I tell you about my 23-day project, let's talk about what gratitude is. Gratitude is a feeling. It is an emotion of thankfulness, of appreciation towards something. Now, researchers have distinguished two types of gratitude. There is generalized gratitude, this big picture feeling of appreciation and thankfulness, but there's triggered gratitude, that same feeling of appreciation and thankfulness in response to a specific event or person. And that distinction won't be important in this project later on. So let me tell you about this project. And in order to do that, we need to move back just a little bit further. It's January 22nd of this year, exactly 1 month before my birthday. And I asked myself, what do I want to do for my birthday? My first thought is do a gratitude project. My second thought is no, that's corny, that's cheesy, that's dumb. I'm not doing it. So a few days later, I come back to it. What do I want to do for my birthday? Again, my instinctual first unobstructed thought is do a gratitude project. Nah, it's dumb, it's corny, it's cheesy, it's emotional. I want no part of it. I move on. On January 31st, I asked myself again, what do you want to do for your birthday? And again, my instinctual thought is to do a gratitude project. Well, one of my guiding principles in life is third time's a charm or 3 strikes and you're out. And based on the fact that my unobstructed instinctual thoughts is to do a gratitude project, well, that's third time's a charm. I'm going to do it, but I don't know what to do. And it helps me to talk things out. So I pull up my phone, I open up my voice memos, and I just start talking. And I come to a conclusion. I'll send 1 gratitude letter every single day of February leading up to my birthday on the 22nd. But I got to make sure they're short. I have sent a lot of gratitude letters in my life, and I have this tendency to send really long multi-page letters. I don't want to do that. Half a page, write it, mail it, be done with it. I like this idea. So I start thinking of the people, the list. Who am I going to send it to? I get about 10 or 11 of them. And I realize I can't figure out anymore right now. They'll come later. But I also notice that I'm enjoying the talking. I like talking. So I decide that I'm going to record this process, audio recordings, after every single gratitude letter I send, just to see what happens, to help me understand this project a little more. And I'd love to tell you about every single letter and everything that I learned about it, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to just tell you some big picture phases. Phase 1, days 1 through 6. This gratitude is amazing. I'm having so much fun. The letters are writing themselves. I'm writing them quickly. I'm sending them. I'm feeling good, which makes sense because researchers of gratitude have found this whole host of benefits, regardless of the field in which they're studying them. Simply put, gratitude impacts your well-being, and I am living it in the moment. It feels amazing. Phase 2, February 7th, my first obstacle, men, or should I say masculinity. By chance, my first 6 letters were to women, academic advisors, friends, former professors. And the next 6 on my list are men, specifically basketball coaches who I hold responsible for my basketball coaching career. I am having a hard time sending these letters. I don't want to be vulnerable, which makes sense. In my master's degree, I studied athletic culture, and it is highly influenced by masculine culture, in which one of the central tenets is stoicism. Controlled, measured, restricted expression of emotion. I feel like I'm violating cultural norms by saying thank you, by being emotional. Saying thank you? Are you kidding me? All I want to do is say thank you to these men, and I can't. I'm going crazy. Gratitude is bullshit, but it's worth it. I send each letter and I start to feel a little bit better, but by the time I get to the 11th, I am completely burnt out. I do not have the capacity for this continued emotion. I'm sitting there dejected. I'm forcing the gratitude. I'm no longer sending gratitude letters for the sake of the gratitude. I'm sending them for the sake of the project. This isn't right, but I keep laboring through it because I'm committed to the project. My instinct says to do the project. But on the 15th, I live that distinction between the two types, and it revitalizes me into phase 3, burnout. I'm sitting there feeling burnt out on this project, looking around. I don't know who to send it to. I'm in my apartment and I see all my house plants. I love my house plants. I have dozens of them. They all have names. I talk to them every day. They make me smile. And I realized that 4 years prior to this, I had no house plants. 3 years prior to this, I went to my friend's house. She had house plants everywhere. It's the first time I'd seen that. It's amazing. I tell her it's amazing. I tell her I want to replicate it. She gives me a couple house plants. My life's never been the same since then. Oh my God, gratitude. I write the letter as fast as I can, and it's in the mailbox before I can even think twice. The gratitude is flowing again, and it gets me through phase 3. I'm revitalized, I'm rejuvenated, I'm feeling the well-being, I'm feeling the benefits. Which gets me to day 21, a day I chose to take off because day 22 and day 23 are terrifying me. Because early in the project, I decide that on the 22nd, my birthday, I'm gonna write one to myself, and on the 23rd, I'm gonna write one to my father. And they are going to be gratitude letters about my grief of his passing. I'm afraid of this moment because after he died, the pain was so unbearable that I relied on stoicism too much. I took every emotion I ever had and I buried it into my existence like a third grader buries their homework into their backpack. I grabbed them and I shoved them down, never to see them again. I'm afraid if I write these letters, I'm going to feel again. But at the same time, I'm afraid if I write these letters, I'm going to heal. Somehow I'm afraid to feel while afraid to heal. But that's my second voice. My instinctual voice is no, write these letters, make them short, make them concise, and do it. So I write mine on the 22nd and I fold it and I put it on the table. I write my father's on the 23rd, I fold it and I put it on the table. And that night I ask myself, what do I do with these? I'm not sending a letter to myself, and how do I send a letter to somebody who's no longer physically here? My instinct says to burn them. My second voice says, that's dumb, dude. That's cliche. This isn't a Hallmark movie. This is real life. What are you going to do? I said, no, it's not about the second voice. It's about the instinctual voice. Go outside and you burn. So I put on my jacket. I put in my headphones. I play my dad's favorite songs. I put them in a bucket and I light them on fire. And in that moment, I'm crying the hardest I've cried since he passed. But I'm also laughing and I'm smiling. I feel horrible. I feel good. I'm feeling and I'm healing. It's one of the most anticlimactic yet cathartic and climactic moments of my life. I'm so confused. I go back inside, I sit down and I think, okay, I guess it's done. That's the end of the project. But I'm still somewhat obsessed with the project. And for the next few days, I keep doing audio recordings about my thoughts and my feelings. But it still just kind of ends after that cathartic moment of release. I still feel the grief. I didn't actually heal. What do? I don't know. I move on. And I hadn't touched the gratitude project since then until this class. And my instinct is talk about this project for your presentation. My second voice says, no, don't do it. That's narcissistic. Don't talk about yourself. It's fine. Just do it. You want to do it. Do it, do it, do it. Instinct says do it, so I do it. But in order to find my through line, I take all of my recordings, I transcribe them, I print them. I've got 50 pages worth of transcriptions and I start analyzing. And what I see is the gratitude is hard and I see the gratitude is worth it. For all the well-documented and researched reasons, but for a reason that is specific to myself. The gratitude became a channel for my resilience. And what I mean by that is in my master's degree, I studied the communication theory of resilience that says that we use communication to develop resilience through 5 processes. And in these transcripts, I'm seeing these processes unfold right in front of my eyes. The first one, crafting normalcy. We have to use communication to normalize our life post-adversity. I'm using these gratitude letters to normalize the good that is still in my life after my father's passing. Affirming identity anchors is the next process. I've always been a grateful person, and I'm using this gratitude project to affirm that identity to others, but also to myself because I've lost sight of that. The third process is maintaining communication networks. You're strengthening your relationships. I'm sending these letters to the people that are dear to me. I'm strengthening those relationships, but also strengthening my relationship with myself. But the last two processes are the ones that stand out the most. The fourth process is reframing. We use communication to acknowledge our legitimate right to feel bad about the situation while simultaneously choosing productive action. I'm afraid to feel, I'm afraid to heal, but I'm choosing to do so regardless. But it's also reframing my perspective on grief. Up to this time, I've been waiting for this thing to solve the grief. And I realized there's no solving grief. It's just going to exist with me forever. But that doesn't mean I can't do things that feel good in the moment, like sending a cheesy cliche letter to my dad and lighting it on fire. The grief isn't gone, but I still feel good about it. That's okay. And then the last one is putting alternative logics to work. Adversity changes life, and we use communication to put new ways of functioning into action. And like I said, my father, he was my best friend. He was my hero. He was my idol. He was my mentor. My whole life, my number one goal was simply to be him. And every important life decision I had made started by asking the question, what would dad do? And as I'm going through these transcripts, I see my shift in thinking going from what would dad do to what would Matt do? That's my alternative logic. And gratitude was my channel to communicatively construct this resilience that I had not seen before. Not only was it the channel, it was the spotlight of how I'd been doing so well, even though I was already so focused on what was missing and what was hurting. And so I can see that gratitude is hard. It's emotionally draining. The vulnerability felt like it was tearing me apart. I have no appetite for vulnerability. Frankly, I can't believe I'm telling you all this because of that. But here we are. My instinct says to do it. What would Matt do? Matt would give this presentation. Gratitude is hard, but it's worth it. And that's my call of action to you all. Not to do a gratitude project. Do not do a 23-day consecutive gratitude project. It's hard, it's challenging. But my call is to trust your instinct that when you are genuinely feeling sincere gratitude, whether it is generalized, this big picture gratitude, or it is triggered in relation to a specific event or action, trust that instinct that that feeling is sincere and express it, whether it's to a loved one, a stranger, a person you like, a person you hate, anybody. When you feel that gratitude, my call is to express it. I can assure you it will be challenging and it will be hard, but I can assure you that it will be worth it. Thank you.
Matthew, oh my gosh. You either practice this 5 million times or you are the best extemporaneous speaker I've ever seen. Like, you loved this topic. You were passionate. So Matthew did something interesting that we hadn't, it's not really talked about in the Chris Anderson book, but he basically used his internal voice as his external speaking approach, which I've seen people do before and it almost never works. I think it worked for you, Matthew, because of your high energy, because your diction is so clear. You didn't do a high voice, right? You just spoke in your normal voice and told us about the tension you're having. And then this project, which for like, how hard can it be? And then you built that tension. Oh yeah, then you start thinking about this. This is really hard. Like 1 or 2, probably not so hard. And I love that tension point at, I got to 11 and then I couldn't go further. So you had tension throughout it. I was hoping you would play a little clip from the audio recording. I thought that would be super interesting. You probably thought about it. But on the other hand, you were just so, talk about flow. You were just so in the moment. The deep breaths, we could tell that you are so excited about this. It's so passionate, so important, kind of life-changing. Great narrative arc. You opened, you built tension, you closed it. Just perfect storytelling, human scale. The surprise of your father's death about 2/3 of the way through was just breathtaking. I was kind of with you, and it's hard and you're overcoming it. And all of a sudden now we just kicked into high gear. I'm like, things got real, right? Things really got real. And I liked that you put in these kind of binary oppositions, which is a great way to write. You did heal and feel, and you said it a couple times. You did the anticlimax and the climax. You let the audience build that tension by having these oppositions. And then what a solid takeaway. One of the best indicators, I think, of an amazing talk is that you are left with more questions than you have answered. You've opened up our minds so much. Like, man, I want to sit down with you for an hour and just have this discussion. Right. And again, I'm so jaded because I've been to so many TED Talks. I'm going to go to TED again this year. I haven't been in a couple of years. I just got burnt out. And, I don't know, maybe it's 10% of the people I go, man, I want to sit with this person, just hang out and just, poke around in their brain for a while. So you did that. You also did something really smart, I thought, or just natural for you, which was you smiled throughout the whole thing. And even though some of the topics got heavy, like your father's death, I mean, so vulnerable, but you were so excited to tell us about this journey you've been on. And instead of feeling sad, we felt the emotion, we felt the tension, the anticipation of what would you do, but we didn't feel sad. We felt like we were on a joyful journey with you. Now that was a very smart approach. It could have been a very kind of maudlin, sad thing where you kind of go into the depths of your father's death. But great call to action. You're absolutely natural. I mean, seriously, you're better than 80% of the talks on the TED stage. I mean, it was just really, really great because you enjoyed it so much. So